The White House National Security Advisor is warning Russia will face, quote, severe economic consequences if it invades Ukraine. U.S. officials maintain Russia is preparing a pretext for a Ukrainian invasion that could take place as soon as this month. They are reporting Russia has pre-positioned a group of operatives to conduct a, quote, false flag operation in the eastern region of Ukraine. Intelligence officials estimate a military invasion could begin at any point between now and mid-February. Washington officials also report Russian authorities are launching a social media campaign to frame Ukraine as the aggressor. Moscow is dismissing U.S. officials' statements, calling them, quote, unfounded. Joining us now for more on this is CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis. Olivia, great to see you. So the U.S. says there are severe economic consequences to come in response to an invasion. What would these consequences be?
Sure, Tanya, it's great to be back with you. The economic consequences that Western officials have forecast haven't ever been explicitly spelled out. But what officials have said is that they would be widely coordinated between the U.S. and Europe, that they would really hurt, and that they would take effect immediately. One U.S. official describing it as having sanctions targets in place, ready to go as soon as the tanks cross the border. So there's been speculation that they could include things like cutting Russia off from the international financing system known as SWIFT, that they could be stringent export controls, or that these could be going after individuals and organizations very close to Vladimir Putin himself. Again, the details have been left purposely murky by the diplomats who have been crafting them, but it's worth noting that both the U.S. and NATO have said that any punitive economic measures are going to be accompanied by NATO reinforcing its eastern flank, sending more troops and military assets to those member countries most proximate to Russia, which is, of course, the exact opposite of what the Russians have said all along that they want to see.
And of course, these rather alarming intelligence reports are coming on the heels of last week's meetings between U.S., Russia, and NATO officials. So how does it seem we have so quickly shifted from diplomacy to an impending military conflict?
Sure. So, I mean, it was at first encouraging that the Russians were willing to sit down for these intensive diplomatic talks all throughout the course of last week, but officials were always rather pessimistic going into them. And that's because these battle lines were really drawn long beforehand, already weeks ago, and seemed to be already leading directly toward an impasse. At the crux of these tensions are these demands by Russia for security guarantees that the NATO alliance never expand eastward, never include Ukraine as a member, as well as a drawdown of Western troops and assets, and again, those member countries most proximate to Russia. But for as long as Russia has made those demands, Western and NATO officials have said they're complete non-starters. They've said that only NATO is going to determine its future membership, and they've said that all countries have a sovereign right to determine what they want to do. And if they want to try to meet NATO criteria for membership, that's what they should do. What Western diplomats have offered instead is to engage with Russia on other areas of mutual security interests, including arms control, including things like military activities, being more transparent about military activities in Europe. Russia has consistently dismissed those as being essentially besides the point. All it really cares about are these security guarantees that it wants ironclad. And so they've demanded what they know are non-starters, all while mobilizing the largest military force in Europe that we've seen in the past 3 decades, which is very much in short how we've gotten to and stayed at what looks like the brink of war.
And so, Olivia, how are experts reading into this massive cyber attack that temporarily downed multiple Ukrainian government websites on Friday? Do they think that there is a connection to potential Russian aggression?
Absolutely. So there were a few troubling cyber developments on Friday and over the weekend. On Friday, Ukrainian officials said that there was these dozens of government websites that were essentially targeted by a mass defacement. There was no data compromise or malware deployed. Most of the websites were up and running pretty soon after they were taken down, but it was essentially an act of vandalism. More troublingly, Microsoft revealed over the weekend that they had discovered highly destructive malware placed all over Ukrainian computer networks, and that could be switched on at any time. And that could be really destructive, if not crippling, to Ukrainian networks. Neither one of these actions has been definitively attributed to the Russians as yet. Officials are still working on that. The Ukrainians have said that Moscow's fingerprints are all over these things, but attribution is not there yet. The reason that both are concerning is because they have in the past been precursors to military aggression by Russia. It's the exact playbook that the Russians used in 2008 ahead of their invasion of Georgia and in 2014 ahead of their invasion and annexation of Crimea. So there's concern that these are early indicators that Moscow has made the decision to go, is prepping the battlefield, and is positioning itself for more aggressive measures on the ground in the very near future.
Certainly sounds like it could be ominous. And Olivia, in appearing on Face the Nation Sunday, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told Margaret Brennan the U.S. is pursuing both deterrent and diplomatic responses to Russia. Let's listen.
We're ready either way. If Russia wants to move forward with diplomacy, we are absolutely ready to do that in lockstep with our allies and partners. If Russia wants to go down the path of invasion and escalation, we're ready for that too, with a robust response that will cut at their strategic position. So from our perspective, we are pursuing simultaneously deterrence and diplomacy, and we've been clear and steadfast in that, again, fully united with the transatlantic community.
Can we read between the lines there and understand that military action is very much on the table?
Well, so the view right now is that a military invasion by Russia, while not inevitable, is unfortunately looking more and more likely by the day. What you could say is that we're right now at something of an uneasy stasis with some really, really negative and troubling trends afoot. Diplomatically, what the Russians say that they're waiting for right now are a set of written responses from the U.S. and NATO responding to those demands that NATO won't respond eastward, which again, the West has already roundly dismissed in person, verbally over the course of the past week and recent weeks as complete non-starters. So it's not clear what a written rejection is really going to do to alter Russia's posture. But the reason that an invasion seems more likely than not is because of what we've just discussed as these troubling precursors: cyber attacks, mass influence campaigns, this U.S. intelligence indicating that there are pre-positioned operatives in Ukraine, trained in urban warfare, trained in explosives, who are willing to wage violence on Russian proxy forces there in order to create a pretext for an invasion. And then finally, just today, we've seen that the Russians are conducting joint military drills with Belarus, which is also shares a border with Ukraine and with whose authoritarian leader Moscow has really strengthened ties in recent weeks. So that could be another potential front in this conflict. And so while diplomacy has overcome really tall odds in the past, unfortunately, it looks like the odds here are getting really tougher by the day.
A tense situation. Olivia Gazis, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tanya.